I might try with the other one.
Okay.
That one seemed to work better.
The hook or the rake?
I don't think I'm gonna go for the rake until I can get this with the.
Yeah. Oh, you're making all my purist lockpicker friends so happy with a statement like that. Hey, everyone. I am so freaking excited about today's video. This has been in the making for a little while. So, yeah, okay. I'm thrilled. Like, I'm so thrilled with how this went. I just filmed this and I am over the moon. Okay, here's what's up. I've been teaching lockpicking for a really long time, like a really long time. A lot of you have seen videos of mine going back a decade or more now, right? I get contacted from all different groups and all different kinds of people. And over the years, lockpicking, while it's still fun for me, it's not that interesting anymore. I mean, I can teach these lessons in my sleep. And I regularly do. Like, we run classes, Red Team Alliance, still coming at you, link in the description. But I never thought I would be faced with a question about how to teach lockpicking that would totally be new to me. And that's what we have here. I was contacted by someone named Jeremiah. And he said, hey, I've heard of you, you're the speaker, you have these really cool tech talks online. I've enjoyed some of them. I'm really thinking I could get into lockpicking. I'm wondering if you think it would be feasible for me to learn. I really live far away. He's in a far-flung spot in Alaska. He's like, so I can't really get to any events, not to mention we got this pandemic still. Oh, and also, I am totally blind. And I thought for a second, I was like, my first reaction was like, that's sure, man, great, like compensation with other senses. You probably have, really cool dexterity and hearing, and lockpicking is not a visual art, lockpicking is all seeing with your hands, as we like to call it. Cool. That's the perfect person to want to learn. It's like old phone freaks, who are unsighted. They're hearing, like, there's people like this all the time in the hacker community. My friend Shaff, who's been to cons with us, I gave him his first machine gun to shoot, like he came out to DEF CON and everything. And then I thought about it some more. I went, wait a minute. Lockpicking is not a visual discipline, but teaching about lockpicking is insanely visual. Like, it's all animations and diagrams. You've seen my resources that I've made. And I really thought, I was like, man, how would we go about tackling this? That's a really interesting question. And I told him, I was like, all right, man, you got my screws turning. I love this idea. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but let me have a think on it. And we stayed in touch. And ultimately what I came up with was the idea. I was like, well, what if I made really oversized lock pieces, like out of wood, like a lock big enough that you could reach your hands into? And I was like, that's still, I mean, you're still, then I'm trying to tell this person what to feel. Like, there's got to be, maybe I did a cutaway. All right, let's do a cutaway that's really big. And I'm like, well, how would I do that? Would I 3D print it? And I'm like, oh my God, 3D printing, literally. There are already really cool models. There are cutaway models that, like Kenny Octosavi made, the laser cut ones out of acrylic for teaching people at Burning Man and camping events where you have no laptops and power and projectors. And then we have 3D Locksport, right? Like, if you don't know Tony, my buddy Bite Stealer, right? So Bite Stealer, like, he is an amazing part of the tool community. He's an amazing part of the Locksport world. And he's this 3D print and modeling guy, right? So he does a lot of part production. He makes a smaller version of sort of the Kenny cutaway, as I used to call it, but it's designed for that same purpose. It's designed for, here's how you instruct someone in lockpicking when you don't have a laptop and a projector and a whole AV setup. I was like, all right, I can work with this. And I reached out to Byte and I was like, hey, what would you say to changing your model a little bit and making me some parts that might not make sense right at first? But trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. And he's like, all right, you got me intrigued. What's going on? So I told him, I'm like, all right, man, you're going to make some parts that make no sense for visual learning of lockpicking, but I'm going to teach someone completely without sight and do it remotely while I'm on like a Zoom with this person. So we're going to create a stacked series of models that will allow someone with tactile feedback only to develop and build a picture in their mind of how locks work and how picking and manipulation of pins works. And he was down for it, right? Like, I was drawing sketches and photoshopping ideas, and he was making sample parts and sending them to me. So I got this whole package together. I told Jeremiah, I'm like, look, I'm going to send you some plastic, printed parts, and they'll all be in bags, and the bags will have labels, tactile labels. I put stripes of tape on them and little slits in the bag so you could feel them. And he laid them out. And I said, I'm going to send you some real locks too, and a lock stand. That was from George over at, the Locksport lock stand guy, right? The lockpicking learning. And I'm like, look, if all this works, you might be picking real locks, but let's start. If you can be on a Zoom with me, you won't see me, obviously, but I just need to see your tabletop, and I think we can do this. So that's what we did. And we recorded it to share the experience with all of you. So in the end, you're going to see, well, most of what happened. I was a little frustrated, I gotta say. We recorded the whole session, right? And I recorded with my camera and then recorded the Zoom. Even though I had pinned Jeremiah's video, so that's the only thing I could see. I had my video off. There are some people and engineers, I'm told, at Zoom right now who are talking this out because I kind of got a little loud online. I'm like, what the heck? How come the Zoom recording, half the recording is a black screen with my name on it? Whenever I would speak, the camera would cut away to me, even though that's not what it was doing in the meeting. Anyway, at first I was irked. And then I thought to myself, the important part is that we made these models and we made a viable lesson plan and we captured our discussion. And if all of you out there watching, I'm going to edit this together as best I can, right? If all of you watching this video, if you're a sighted individual and you feel the slightest bit frustrated, like, oh man, I'm only seeing half of what's going on, maybe that gives you just the slightest taste. I thought about this fact a lot. Maybe it gives us the slightest taste of what it's like to not be able to rely on visual learning, especially when something is exciting and thrilling to us. Well, thankfully, folk like Jeremiah and others in the community, and he's building a community, by the way, he's on Twitter. We're gonna expect to see a little more chatter there. We want to see if others can reach out and connect and learn this. If you're trying to learn lockpicking without the benefit of sight, just with your hands, this might be feasible. So have a listen. Those of you who are sighted, have a look, and I will hopefully get a few thumbs up out of you and some excitement. And if you ever thought lockpicking wasn't for you, if you ever thought anything wasn't for you, sometimes it's just a matter of reaching out to the right community. As you know, my wife Tara and I, we're sort of devotees of learning language. Between us, we speak a lot of languages. Some of you know, I have deaf friends back when I was in Philadelphia. Because they worked in theater, and my like Lady Merlin, I dated Lady Merlin for years. Her brother's deaf, her sister-in-law is deaf. I believe really strongly in learning how to communicate as much as you can, and taking the extra effort to make sure more people are in the discussion and more people are participating. Sometimes it doesn't take much more effort to majorly widen our circles and our communities. So watch, listen, learn, enjoy. Stick around at the very end for more of my smiles and maybe, get some giveaways going on too, because I am just so blown away with how great this worked out.
There you go. Zoom made my speech switch.
No problem.
That's what you were hearing.
No, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, so that is a screen, a screen and text reader. Yes, indeed.
That's cool. How are you familiar with that?
So a friend of mine, let's see, I'm just double checking my video here. There is a hacker who lives he's in Canada. His name is Shaff. I haven't seen him around for a long time. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I knew him a long time ago, man.
Yeah, so Shaff came to his first HackerCon, was CarolinaCon, and that was ages ago, and I just met him there. I said, hey, how you been? I think, have you been to this con before? I've never. So he hung out with us the whole time. Then he came to DEF CON. He came to the gun range with us. I gave him his first machine guns to shoot. And he gave a presentation in New York City at a HackerCon all about blind and accessibility tech. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's a small world. This is wild. I can't believe we're actually going to make this work.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. I was pretty stoked about this.
So
I emailed you. That first email was just really a shot in the dark. It's like, you know what? I've listened to a bunch of, your presentations, elevator and all that, and I just, it's like, why not? Let's, it's a shot in the dark. Let's give it a try.
Yeah, most definitely. Here, I'm going to try to use headphones here as well. Stand by. Let's see. Can I hear you here?
Yes, can you?
Yes, I can. Cool. That's even better. This is so sweet.
It is.
So you are in Alaska, and not like even a densely populated area of Alaska. I looked on the map. That package took a while to get there.
I'm in the middle of nowhere. I live out in Kotzebue, very, very small. I'm actually in the process of moving to a more populated area.
Okay. Have you been there most of your life?
I have been up here I actually grew up in a smaller village. It's called Buckland. It's about, it's even higher up north than here, and it's a village of about 400 people.
Oh, that's so wild. And
the only way to get around is bush plane.
Yeah, I mean, I realized that. I've never seen UPS packages get a message that say, pending delivery, packages as close as it's going to get for a few days. No deliveries for this today. Yeah, that was cool. Now, you said you had found, because you got in touch with me, which I'm so thrilled about, because it's something I've never imagined trying. I've been educating about lockpicking to a lot of different audiences over the years, but it's fascinating to me because lockpicking is not a visual art, right? It's by its nature, it's all hidden. Like you're seeing, literally, we like to say you're seeing with your hands. But teaching about it is very visual. We use a lot of diagrams and explainer models. So translating this to this little lesson plan that I've made, I never would have thought that I would try it. Now, how did you come across me in the first place? How did you find me to even reach out?
Pretty much for YouTube videos. Like, I'm interested in lots of stuff, and I've listened to Okay, how's that? Is that better?
That's I can hear you right now.
Hold on, let me see 1 second.
Sure.
Let's go through this here.
I see something now.
Okay, what do you see now?
I see you, or I see you at a desk.
Actually, my apartment table.
I wonder if it is your internet speed that could be affecting us.
Probably is my rural internet speed.
It could be. That's all right. So I've killed my video. It's all right. We'll still be able to proceed here. We'll be able to manage as best we can, because again, this entire idea, the notion was sort of how do you convey lockpicking in an unsighted fashion. So if you could do it, I could do it, I guess. That's the way I'll say this.
I suppose we can. Like I can put the keyboard away. We can give it a try, even with a grainy video.
That's fine. We'll go for it.
Yeah, we'll give it a try. Okay, how's that?
It is definitely pointed downward.
Is that going to work, or does
probably
it need to go like?
Probably. So we'll make it work as best we can. But
yeah, we can make it work somehow.
Yeah. I'm here for this. So tell me if you got 2 packages from me, right?
Yeah, I have them both. I've got them both right here. I put them both in one box.
Yeah, one of them.
I know what the C clamp, the metal one, is.
Yeah, so that was a C clamp and like a little lock stand.
Yeah, the lock stand was on that already.
Good. Okay. That'll be a little later. We're going to start with some plastic models and parts.
Awesome.
So aside from the C clamp and lock stand, which came in one box, the other more substantial package, which was the UPS box, that has a bunch of plastic bags in there. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, what I tried to do, and I stacked this sort of lesson in a series of progressive parts, I tried to mark those bags by putting folds of tape. I did 2 things. I actually
did a good job.
Strips of tape, and I even snipped the top of the plastic.
Yeah.
Cool.
You did a good job with that.
Awesome. So do you want to dive right in? If you have all the bags, we're going to go one at a time. All right. So bag number 1, which probably has no snips in the top, but has 1 stripe of folded tape on it.
That's correct.
Yeah,
It's right here.
go ahead and open this and tell me what you find in there.
We've got. It's an interesting shape.
Yeah, it's kind of, I would call it almost a pear shape from the outside.
Yeah, it is pear-shaped. Yeah.
And there's obviously a very large round void.
Large round void. Yeah, and then we have another one at the top.
Yeah, there's another little feature.
The other way.
Yeah, so I would call that kind of like a thin channel.
Yes.
And that thin channel is only on one side of this surface. It's not on the back side. So I would refer to it when I might say the top or the bottom. The way you're holding it right now is great. So the pear shape with the smaller part up top and the round part at the bottom, and that thin channel facing you is the way you'll interact with that piece in the future. That pear-shaped piece, we're going to call that the housing a couple times later.
Oh, awesome.
All right. What is the next bag that we have? We have bag number 2.
One, two. There we go.
And there's only one thing in each, in almost every bag, it's only one thing, so you don't have to worry about losing pieces.
Now, what? Perfectly round piece.
Perfectly round piece. Is it? Is there any protrusions, bumps, anything irregular about it, or is it just round?
No, it's just perfectly round.
Yeah. Does it fit in the round hollow of that pear-shaped housing?
Let's find out.
All right.
It does.
Excellent. And it'll fit in there. And you could, kind of gripping it with your hands, you could sort of spin it in place, right? It would spin around. It fits in there. It's not particularly easy to spin, which is why if you get bag number 3, you're going to find a pretty similar round piece, but with additional features that will help us in the next steps. This is great. The video is working better too now. This is great. I can see everything really well. This is so cool.
This is actually, this is happening. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Suppose little features on the top will make it easier to turn.
Yeah. So if you were to replace the one white disc with the new one and those little bump features, so you found those little bump features, that makes it a lot more easier to manipulate it, right?
It does.
Cool. So those little bumps that's exactly what they're for. They have no other purpose. They don't represent anything that would really be on a lock, but for all the next couple of steps, it'll make it a lot easier to work with our hands.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to keep building this model just one step at a time. You're going to open another bag and it's going to be yet another round piece, this time with even more features. This is as good a time as any that I shall raise a glass to my friend Bite. He is a 3D modeler and he does a lot of lock education, and he really worked with me. He's like, that's almost the same as the other piece. I'm like, trust me, I'm building something here. I'm building to and he worked with me to make all these little progressive pieces. So what's the next piece? Well done. Yeah. What's this one feel like?
So that feels the same with the pieces as well, but this has a channel running through it now with the.
Yeah. And the channel is very similar to the channel in the housing, except this channel probably has an obstruction somewhere in the channel itself.
It does. That's correct.
Cool. What we're going to do is we will refer to that obstruction, that little bump in the channel. It's off to one side. That would be kind of, we'll call it the bottom of the channel. As you're orienting the disc and holding it, that little bump is towards the bottom, and the channel faces you, much as the other channel on the pear-shaped piece faces you. So if you could swap those round discs for the new one now, so pretty similar. Yeah, those other discs can go completely aside now. We're done with them. So now it's possible to manipulate the round disc inside its placement in the housing where you have it, and it's possible to sort of line those channels up or to turn them so that they don't line up. Yeah.
That's correct.
So this is what's happening in the construction of most locks. Most mechanical locks have a round part that turns and operates, and that's called the plug, by the way. The plug, which is inside of the housing. And inside of both the plug and the housing, there are these channels, or we might call them chambers, which will house smaller components. And it's how those small components interact that control whether the plug is free to turn or not. And if you might already see where this is
so
going.
this is a representation of a keyway. You got the top of the keyway and the bottom of the keyway.
In a sense, yeah. So we're going to actually put we're going to start opening bags with smaller pieces, not so small that they should roll away, but the next couple bags will have small enough pieces that they might get away from us. We'll be a little careful, but you're going to actually assemble them in a certain way. So get your next bag and let's see what we come up with. I'm so glad that the bags are easy to organize. I wasn't sure how that would work.
That is very good. You've done very good with them.
Sweet.
When I got the right bag. Like, what do you think I am, blind or something?
So what's the piece you got here? It's much smaller. Tell me about it.
So it's another round, but it's very small. It looks like it would go in the channel.
It will, although the channel is designed in this model, you can't just drop it in. What we're going to
slide.
Yeah, you're going to have to lift that white piece out, and on the white piece, the white here, I'm giving you colors on the round piece.
Awesome.
Yes, on the round piece. Yeah, and the little pin. Is it different on each end or is it the same on each end?
It's different on each end. One end is pointed.
Yeah, the pointy end goes in first when you're dropping it into the round piece, into the channel. And it should drop all the way clean, so much so that now there's probably no obstruction on the outside of that round piece. The round piece could go right back where you had it in the housing.
Yeah.
And if you were if you were to put it in the housing, which feel free to, those little bumps allow you to still spin it freely, and nothing is obstructing, nothing is in the way.
That's correct.
What you have done is installed what's called a key pin. The key pin, its job is not usually to obstruct or block the lock's movement in any way. The key pin we'll get to in a minute. It would normally, if this were a real lock, the key pin would be interacting with the key. The blade of the key would be inserted into the keyway. But what we're about to open next is another small pin.
Okay.
And I want to know if this bag, once you get it open, if the pin feels exactly the same, feels different. We'll see what we've got.
It's also the right one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm seeing it.
I was just counting.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
My mental math.
So
this one's the same.
Now, is it exactly the same, or
that one's all the same? Looks like.
Now, the first one you were handling, I recall you telling me one end was pointed.
Yeah, this one does not have that.
Ah, right. This one is flat on both ends because this is known as a driver pin. And inside of a lock, when it's installed, there's no need for a point. The point on the key pin is when it's interacting with the key, it'll ride smoothly. What will happen here, if you can lift that disc shape out of the housing one more time. Now, that same way you dropped the key pin in, would you be able to drop this driver pin into the disc? We're going to do it in the disc. We're building to some critical moment here. So I see you have it in the channel, but not very far, right?
No, that one doesn't go all the way.
Right, it can't go all the way. So that's now,
what holds it.
Yes. That would not allow, this plug can't be installed in the housing. And even if it were in the housing, this plug can't turn. The driver pin's whole job is to stick out of the plug and block free movement of the plug.
Yeah.
So you could, as you are doing right now, you could just pinch it and pluck it. You could just pull it out if you wanted to, but let's not do that. Could you instead, keeping it where it is, can you feel the first pin, the pointed one that you stuck in there?
Yeah.
Can you push up on that pin and just push until the driver pin literally falls out of the plug? You're pushing up on the key pin and letting it That's what we're going to do. We're going to, because when the lock is all assembled and the next one you're going to open is going to be all assembled. So you don't have to assemble it with there's springs and there's other surfaces. So the next one you'll open is a fully assembled model. Instead of, you can't reach in with your fingers and pull the pins. We're actually going on the next one to try to turn the plug with those little nubs while also pushing the pins. And we're going to see what happens in a minute.
Okay.
So if you want to put all these parts just aside to one way and try the next bag. I know these ones are small, so you don't want to lose it. Yeah, it's really smart to put them together like that, just so they don't roll all to heck and gone.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Smart, smart. And exactly what you just assembled is like what you're about to open. The only distinction being the one you're about to open will also have a spring in place inside that housing. And that's one of the first things you'll probably feel once you already know where the parts kind of relatively fit with one another.
Yeah.
But now if you try to push those pins, you'll feel the spring kind of fighting back on you a bit.
Yeah.
So right now, if you were to try to use your fingers on those nubs to turn the plug, it won't want to turn. But if while applying that turning pressure, if you can slide the pins by pushing on that pointed tip pin, you might reach a point where it'll go, where it'll just turn. So it's hard because it's two simultaneous actions. It's simultaneously trying to turn while also pushing the pins.
Yeah. Hey, there it is.
Is it turned? I see it.
It did now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
When we normally operate a lock, the key goes in the keyway. Normally, the key pushes the pins for us. So it's push the pins and then turn. It's first push, then turn. Lockpicking is all about reversing that. Instead of push the pins, then turn the plug, lockpicking involves trying to turn the plug and then
turn the plug while
pushing
and then pushing the pins. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the pin is in that chamber. It's in that channel. It can't really go anywhere except up or down. And if you're giving a little turning bias to the plug while pushing the pin, eventually it just has to reach the right height, the height that the key would have raised it anyway if you were using a key. So what we've been doing this whole time is being able just to kind of manipulate the pins with our fingers, because this has that large chopped open front surface. Those channels are exposed. The trick with lock manipulation in the real world is that those channels are not, accessible to our fingertips or to anything else. They're kind of hidden, which is why I have more models that the next few bags we'll look at oversized tools and the same exact model. I love that this is working. I'm so thrilled.
Oh, me too.
This same exact model you're using, we're going to try it, but in a version that doesn't have this large open front channel. And we'll have to use other instruments. Let's see. I'm excited.
Awesome.
Let's see what the next bag contains, and let's see how it relates to what we've been doing.
Tell you've got one hell of a grin on your face.
I do. I really do.
I can tell.
So what we've got here are oversized, but still pretty lifelike representative tools. For lock manipulation, we would use tools like this to allow us to interact with those same kind of components. The long tool you're holding here has clearly a thick handle piece, and you're finding that converts down into a shaft. And the end of the shaft, tell me about the shape there.
It's very like hook shaped.
Yeah, there's a little protrusion at the end. There's a lot of different lockpick tools in the world, many of which contain all kinds of different working ends or working heads. Some of them are little sharp spikes, and some of them are hooks, and some of them are wavy tips. But the idea is they all tend to have that large stick handle and a long neck, which at the end of which the end of the tip is where you can poke things. You could even take the exact same lock that you were using, the model you were using, and instead of, you can use your fingers to try to turn, but instead of pushing up on the pins with your other hand, you could try to, exactly what you're doing. You could try to reach in and just see if that would allow you to shove the pin. And there it goes. That exactly. Now the other tool that you were holding, so this is, that's sort of your poking, pushing tool, the lockpick.
Yeah.
The other tool, which is a lot more simplistic, tell me about its shape. What do you feel there?
It's very L-shaped, like a long L.
Yeah. So the long part of the L would normally be used as a handle, and the short stubby part, that is actually what helps us turn when the real world, the plug, the round part that turns, the real world, you don't have those helpful little nubs for your fingers. And in a minute, you're going to have a lock that doesn't even, a model that doesn't have those nubs. Yes, exactly. This is the turning tool. You would try to embed that tool, the tiny part of it, down exactly there at the bottom of where the keyway had that obstruction. That obstruction, if you're curious, is called the warding of the keyway. Wards are these protrusions in the keyway that sort of help seat the key. And if we work around them, you can maybe find a way to lock that tool in there.
Yeah.
And yeah. So in this case, we're going to flip what you just did. Instead of using the pick to push, you're going to use your fingers to push the pins. But now see if you can do it while using this tool to apply that turning pressure. And the tool, of course, the tricky bit, and this is a very tricky bit in all of lockpicking, the tool will sometimes want to slip out and, you know, keeping your turning tool in a way that, oh, you already got it. Oh, great. Didn't have any problem slipping out. This is going swimmingly. In the real world, that turning tool, making sure your turning tool sort of anchors very well into the plug is one of the main things that people struggle with, which is why a lot of people, when they grow their collection of parts, they kind of use all different turning tools, thick ones, thin ones, because getting that turning tool to stay put, allowing you to manipulate that plug, the turning force is what
the
hardest thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see why.
Great. This is great.
Yeah.
Do you want to try them both at the same time? Or is that...
sure, why not?
All right.
Oh. I can see what we need something to hold this now. Yeah,
so this is where when you use the real metal locks that I've sent, having that lock stand will be much more advantageous to hold it still.
Hey.
But it still worked. That worked just fine.
Yeah, it did.
Now,
that worked very well.
What you'll find in the next bag is you'll want to keep those tools nearby because we'll use them again. But the next bag that we open is going to be exactly what you just did. But then it's the real test of whether the tools can do their job, because this next lock is the same exact design, but the front face is all sealed off now. So the pins are inside, the springs are inside, and everything on the front face is all flat with the exception of a little bit of the slot exposed, which would be the keyway in the real world.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
There's no way to, there's no way to. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You can't like disassemble this. Nope, it ain't happening.
Not easily. I mean, it is press fit together. If you ever got really interested, you could kind of snap it apart, but we'll see if we can make the tools work before you try that. So yeah, now it's where it all comes down to whether the tools will work for us. So you got the turning tools in place. I see that. And I see the pick. Just like that. That's literally it, man.
That's cool.
I'm so glad. Yeah, instead of
it did its job.
Yeah, man. So I don't know if you want to try that one more time. You could even try it turning the other direction to see if that feels any different. It should behave in the same manner.
Okay.
Once again, the hardest part is sort of holding it steady.
Holding them steady, yeah.
That'll get a lot easier when we use the real world locks because they'll have the stands. And this is a real problem that we encounter in the real world. Yeah, in the real world, sometimes you need to turn a lock clockwise or counterclockwise, and you're up against a doorway, and the lock is just not cooperating, and it's hard with your if you're left or right-handed. But you got it though. I see it.
Yeah.
This is great. This is so great. Oh my God.
I know.
What do we got next? I want to see the next bag. I want to see more parts coming out here. Let's see what else we got. I think the next bag might get a lot heavier because we're going to get some real metal.
That one is heavier. Yes, it is.
So yeah, you can put the plastic on the side there, and then let's see. This is, oh man, I'm just over the moon here.
I think we made record time.
Yeah, I had set aside plenty of. I didn't know if we were going to be on for an hour and a half. We're not even an hour in, and it's
we're not
already going great. So what do we got here? Let's see. All right, that's one lock. There should be multiple locks in this bag, and I did something to help us distinguish them. On the locks, you can feel they still kind of have that same pear shape, right?
Yes.
And on the
now this
lock,
is just flipped. It's
there's clearly
this way versus
there is a front and a back. Some of the locks, and in fact, 3 of them have like a tail clip, and one of them has a little knurled ring, but they all should have a nice flat front. The only thing on the front is a sort of a keyway. What I've done is I took my Dremel and I notched on the edge of the plug, that front face of the plug. One of them has a single notch, another one has 2 notches, and another one has 3 notches.
Yeah, I found them now.
Okay. And the reason I notched them, because those locks are progressively more challenging. The little number 1 is only has a couple pins in it, like we've been working with, and then we'll move on. But this is, by the time this is so cool. I'm glad that they are able to be distinguished.
Yeah, they are very well, actually. That one's 2.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
One may not have any notches, and its tail side will feel different. That last one is an example of a real world lock that I haven't modified at all. I think, let's see which one you've got. That might be the real world one that you're
holding. This one is just 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one just has 1.
Okay. Yeah, so that's number 1. Then there's a 1, a 2, a 3, and then the last one I think has no notches at all. Do you still have the other the stand that we shipped separately?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
Here it is.
All right. So this stand,
you might be better off with a side on the.
Yeah, or laying it flat or anything like that. Yeah, but it's designed to. It has that channel. It's got a round channel with an open slot in the top.
Yeah.
And the housing you're holding, the locks will drop straight in.
Yeah.
Exactly from there. And there are 2 little screws on the side, those little nylon screws that can just be manually snugged down to prevent it from dancing around on us. But that stand allows you to stand it straight up on the table. Or if you were even inclined, you could even clamp it to a table. Some people like, to have it locked in place really well. But I
mean, if I really wanted this to stay still, I could stick it to the table. But
yeah, you could tape it to the table if you wanted to. But what I'm curious about is in the bag where the metal lock parts were, there should have been also a couple tools.
They're in the tube, as you said in your email.
Yeah. Smaller versions of the tools that I had you handling in large scale and plastic.
Tension.
Yeah. You might have to angle the camera up just a little hair here so I can see.
I can work lower. That's fine.
You sure?
Tension.
Yeah.
I think we can do it on its side, actually.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
That might work. It's not like I have to look at it,
That's true. And I think I sent you a sampling of a variety of picks. There might even be one more stuck in that tube, kind of because I had some wadding so they wouldn't dance around on us. But yeah, I'm curious what kinds of picks I sent. They all have the same handle, but they have different tips, right?
Yes. Let's see. Let's put that aside. That one's like the one from the, so I don't get confused here. That one is like the one from the model.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We would call that a half diamond because there's just nothing but a little sharp triangle at the very end.
A half diamond.
Mm-hmm. This is a fun one.
It's wavy.
Yeah, this one's super wavy. This is one of many. There are many styles out there of tools called rakes. Rake tools, because they have that really long working end, they'll contact multiple pins simultaneously. you wouldn't use a rake for that deliberate pushing motion, because there's no real way to isolate your contact with a single pin when you have a tool this long.
Yeah.
So this is a different technique where we would scrub it around. You kind of just scrub it all around in the lock, and sometimes you get real lucky. But yeah, raking is a different sort of, it's not as deliberate a tactic, but still often very effective.
Yeah.
And then there's probably one more pick tool, I think, right?
This one has a pointed end, but it's angled differently.
Yeah, just a slight curvature to the tip. That one's just called a hook.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that and the diamond one are very frequently used for that individual sort of, you know what you're touching when you reach in. And the rake is often used when you don't really know precisely what you're touching. You're just trying to get a lot of things moving in the lock.
Just trying to get a lot of things moving at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. I would start, if we want to try this, I would start with just the, you know, that we've been using the oversized diamond. Let's use the diamond pick on this one right now.
Okay.
And I'm curious.
So that would be this one.
Yeah. And don't even worry about the turning tool right now. I'm curious if you can find a comfortable way to slip that tool, the pick tool, into the keyway and see if you can feel anything in there. Can you feel pins? Can you feel that springy action of the pins?
I can. Yeah.
Yeah. And reaching in, this is what lock pickers all do when we first approach a lock. A lot of times we're just curious what's going on, because at this point everyone's the same. We have no knowledge of the inside of the lock. I can't see in the lock, you know, no one can see what's going on. So we have to, as the saying goes, see with our hands.
Yeah.
And that's where you start figuring out, okay, how deep in the lock do I have to reach? What am I touching? And you can feel those pins kind of wanting to.
This one's very close.
Yeah. So I think the pins on this one are right near the front face.
Yeah.
If you wanted to try using the turning tool, typically you would remove the pick and then put the turning tool in first, the same way we did. Exactly. The tiny head goes in down at the bottom of the keyway like that. And if you give it a little turning pressure, a little turning bias, and try to push the pins, we'll see what happens.
Let's see.
If you want to stand the stand up, it's a little easier, I think, on you, and I can see just fine.
Whoa, had it for a hot second. That might be better standing up. Let's see. Hey.
Is it turning?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. Now that is exactly how this will work in the real world with all locks. This lock, much like the models we were using, this lock only had a single pair of, it only had the key pin and the driver pin, a single chamber.
Yeah.
Other locks in the real world, of course, have more pins. There's multiple chambers as you go deeper and deeper in the lock, but the notion is the same. It's maintenance of that gentle turning pressure, that gentle turning bias, and then individual, attacking of those pins with a poking pin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try this one more time, and then we'll really be wild if we move on to the others, because the others I just included the others as something you would do over time. I didn't know how well this would go. This is amazing.
The trick is to get them both in at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And fortunately, the keyways on these locks are not egregiously tight. See, it turned again. Yeah. Other parts of the world, especially some more advanced lock makers in Europe and other places, tend to use much more tight and curvy keyways, with the express idea that it's harder to stick tools that don't belong in a lock if the keyway is small.
Yeah. I suppose, if you want, we can try the other.
Yeah. Oh, I'm here for it, man.
We can try number 2. Let's see.
Yeah.
There's number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find number 2.
Oh man, I am just glowing over here.
1. Yeah, that one's number 2. get that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's give that a try. More pins?
Yeah, I think this one has 2 pin stacks, and they'll both be pretty close to one another. They'll both be near the front of the lock. Where it gets tricky is, one pin stack will kind of click into place, and then you have to maintain that turning pressure, gentle, but firm, but not, because if you put the turning pressure super hard, then the pins don't want to move at all. But if your turning pressure is too gentle, then the pins will start to slip back down. So the real game, the real name of the game is where you're at now, where being able to distinguish,
your turning pressure just right.
Yeah, distinguishing which pin you're on and which pin's moving and which one isn't. And you said you've watched some other security videos. There's a friend of mine, lockpicking lawyer.
Yeah.
He's very good at vocalizing his process, where he says, I'm trying this position and this one is binding. Oh, this one feels loose. Then he'll say, oh, good click out of that one. And then he'll move on to other positions. So yeah, learning, even over time, you'll learn the relative spacing that is common between pin chambers.
Let's see. This is a bit more challenging, but
it is. That's why we always have the rake if absolutely necessary. We can just scrub around in there with the rake and it'll pop open pretty easily. But that doesn't tell us much about the internals of the lock in the process.
No.
I mean, open is open. So in the real world, in a pinch, a rake will work. But it's often fun the way you're doing it with that individual pin by pin picking. You're actually getting to digest and appreciate what the parts are doing.
Yeah. Just trying to feel where each one is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the challenging part.
That'll come with time. Being able, and a lot of people will do exercises where they're not even really caring about unlocking the lock. They won't even use the turning tool. They'll just take their pick and reach, and just to learn what they're feeling. And they'll say, I feel the front position. Now I feel the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just started to run away from me.
Yeah. Do you want to use the...
You might tape it down.
Yeah. Do you want to use the adhesive to hold that stand down? It's one less thing to worry about.
Yeah. We might do that. I can get that out. Let's see.
Yeah. I have some friends who lived up in Alaska all through a long time. They moved out maybe in the 96, 97 kind of area. They started Internet Alaska. So they were all in Fairbanks. They used to have like outages caused by moose, things like that.
Awesome. Okay, let's stick this and see if we do any better.
Now's as good time as any. I should always say that in addition to that fellow Bite who made these pieces, he was not the only voice in the room when I was trying this out. I had a little private chat with some of the other people in this nonprofit tool that I'm a member of, just to bounce the ideas around and say, hey, people, am I crazy? Is this going to convey the way I hope it will? And some people offered some good feedback, and they said, yeah, I think.
Did you do up the models?
I'm not a 3D modeler, but I was directing. So Tony Bite, he had these models more or less the way you see them. But I was saying, hey, can we change this? And I was sketching it, and can you make it this way? And, yeah, he was tracking.
There we go.
Nice.
It'll stick. It'll stick well enough for it to at least be a little stable.
So yeah, the whole lockpick community is just really kind, and they love education. So it was great to have all the voices that went into this, and I am thrilled.
I might try the hook on this one.
Yeah, go for it. The hook will offer the same kind of control where you can reach one pin at a time. But it affords you a little better of a reach too, because you could imagine maybe a pin that's deeper in the lock might have to get pushed further than a pin in the front of the lock, and that's why the hook comes into play.
Yeah.
Turning tool getting in there. There we go.
Yeah, we got it in there now.
And yeah, there's almost that rocking action that you're doing is not uncommon. That's the way I kind of move my pick tool a lot. Some people say it's not as precise as, directly lifting the tool. But I find the rocking action to be just, that's what works for me and a lot of people, in fact.
It's easier to feel that way.
And sometimes you'll get a little click out of one pin that you're lifting.
Hey!
Oh, you got it. You got both. Yeah. Oh my God. This is so awesome.
That's cool.
This is so awesome. Want to try it again?
Sure. So I said we might try this because that might be easier to feel with.
Mm-hmm. And does it seem as though you're actually your hands are able to discern what's happening? It doesn't feel just random. You're actually feeling the pins and everything. That's great.
Yeah.
And again, even faster. Oh my gosh.
Even faster. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Now, are you able to feel one pin chamber sort of click and then the other? That's sort of distinct. That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what people need to learn. That is the process. That's fundamentally the hardest part for people to understand when they say, oh, one pin is set. Now I have to move to the other pin. If you're feeling that, that's what it's all about. That's the game, man.
Yeah, you can tell which one is set.
That's so cool. Was this one, as you were doing it, was it the deeper one that was clicking first or the front one that was clicking first?
It's the front one, and then the second one clicks next.
Mm-hmm. And all those little clicks, the way we can, the action is actually called binding. You're binding and then setting the pins. That all is possible just because of very small imperfections in the lock. The pins are ever so slightly misshapen from one chamber to the next, or the chambers themselves are ever so slightly misaligned or drilled improperly. Not so improperly that the lock wouldn't work. If we had a real key, the lock would work just fine. But those tiny imperfections are what allow us to manipulate using this type of pressure, turning pressure and lifting pressure. And what's really gonna possibly twist some people's minds when they first learn is that binding. If you were to try to turn, if you reset it, you got it again, great. Oh my God. If you reset it and then try to turn the other direction, it might behave differently. It might bind with the front one first and then the back one.
Yeah, so it's different. Okay.
Yeah, because those imperfections, you're sort of approaching those imperfections from the opposite direction of force.
Yeah. I get what that. I get that.
Yeah. You want to try? Are you daring enough to try the number 3?
Well, no time like the present.
Absolutely. And thank you again for again. I really appreciate you letting me document this, because I wanted to share the idea with others that education about.
How are you going to share this?
I will probably put it on my YouTube channel. I'm going to edit it together just with, because you can only see, your hands on the tabletop. I really love the notion that this kind of hobby can be for anyone.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
I'm interested in starting a community of blind people.
Your video chopped up for a second. You said you're interested in starting what?
A little community of, teaching other blind people how to do this.
That would be so amazing.
That was, part of, a good bit of my reasoning behind this is teaching, other people with visual impairments how to do this.
Well, all of these parts are yours to keep by all means. So if those models are useful, or if we even want to get more of them shipped out to other people somehow, I'd love to help facilitate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. For years and years, when I lived back in Philadelphia, I worked in, with some people who did deaf theater. And in fact, I dated someone for years, a lovely person, and her brother's deaf, her brother and her brother's wife. So working with different communities, I believe that so much should be for everyone. And it takes just a modicum of a little bit more effort to make things available to all of us. And the fact that you'd be willing to put in this effort is just, I'm so happy. I'm really glad you reached out. And now that's not number 3. Is that seriously number 3?
That is number 3. Holy
crap, man.
That is number 3. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that really is number 3.
That's so cool. There are real locks in the real world that are only 3 pin. They're not common. they're usually very tiny padlocks like you would see on, small bags and maybe some lockers. But you're reaching the point now where you are doing real world picking.
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. This is utterly amazing.
Go for that again. Let's see if we can do it again. A time like the present. You can feel them too.
Yeah. And you might even feel it starts to turn by a hair even as you're getting some of the pins in place,
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm just blown away. Now, where are you feeling the binding first here? Was it in the back of the lock or in the front of the lock?
Let's see. It was like the second one over, I think.
Totally possible. Every lock's different.
This one's a bit more challenging, but
It's
certainly doable.
Well, we already saw you did it once. Yeah.
I did it twice.
And if you switch, I didn't even realize you got the second time on it. Like, if at any point you wanted to see the dramatic difference, you could switch to the rake and see just how, I don't want to tempt you too much with the some people call it the dark side of the force, because it is very powerful.
Yeah.
Not necessarily more powerful, just more seductive. Once you've tried it. Yeah, those little humps, those little points kind of stick upward toward the pins. So give a gentle turning pressure and then just scrub around, kind of oscillate the rake across all the pins, varying your pitch and your angle a little bit with it. But the whole time you're focusing on just keeping that turning pressure roughly in the direction you want to go. And don't be afraid to really tilt and pitch the rake so that you're trying to expose as much randomness as possible to the pins.
No, okay.
And you're just kind of getting lucky if they all catch, at the right position.
They all catch?
Yeah.
I could see why that would be effective.
The hardest part sometimes with using the rake is that it usually needs less turning pressure, just a gentle turning, almost feathering or bouncing the turning pressure and letting the pins settle themselves into the right spot.
Hey.
You got it with that. Yeah. So that's raking. Again, it's not as deliberate a process, but on a lot of locks, it works. It gets you there.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll say is I can stay on a little bit longer if you wanted to. The next one is where it's time to take the big leap. If you were to change to the next lock, that is, I believe, a full 5-pin, which represents the genuine kind of lock you would find in a typical door in any American home.
We can give that a try.
We can give it a try. I'll stick around for a little bit more here, but whenever, whether you get it now or later, I want to hear about it. I want to hear how this keeps going. I hope, was this so far has been worth your time tonight?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like,
great.
Great. It's been great. Let's go for the,
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna do it, you gotta do it all. You do it all in or not,
Now, are you going to start with the hook again, or how are you going to approach this?
I'll try with a diamond, half diamond.
Okay. If you even had something, some people just put a heavy weight on the stand and it'll stay in place. But yeah, that, or as you pointed out, mounting it, screwing it to like a board that you could place on the tabletop whenever you're working on it, that would work well.
Yeah. Getting that tool to stick in there is harder on this one.
And that's sort of a double-edged sword, right? You want a turning tool that will slip down the keyway, obviously, but if it really fits snug, sometimes you have to angle it a little bit and tilt it. So the snugger the fit in the keyway, the more direct control you have over the plug as you're manipulating it. Yeah, usually the keyway at the bottom, it's not dead up and down, so you kind of had to tilt the tool to get it in the keyway there.
Yeah.
Even just starting out, I wonder if you can tell me if you feel, as you can feel it brushing the pick, brushing across all the pin stacks. You can feel that how deep they go, and this is all part of the set of knowledge that you'll start gathering. This repertoire of knowledge of what you expect to feel inside of locks.
That one clicked, so we can keep this happening here. That one also clicked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're doing great. Doing great.
So did that one. It's just a matter of figuring out.
And sometimes it's possible that certain pins get pushed too far. Like there's good click and bad click. And
let's reset it and try that again.
That's one of the really key
trick is getting the tool past that first pin.
Yeah. One of the real keen things that LPL he talks about is learning how when a pin is properly set, it almost has this, it's not stiff anymore. It's just kind of has this slight bounciness to it. I've been planning a video in the future where I'm going to try to talk about those distinctions. And this is just really neat to see.
Yeah. They were certainly easier to feel with the hook.
Mm-hmm.
This one's a bit more challenging.
I'm on the edge of my seat with this now.
I might try with the other one.
Okay.
That one seemed to work better.
The hook or the rake?
The hook seemed to work better.
Okay.
I don't think I'm gonna go for the rake until I can get this with the.
Yeah. Oh, you're making all my purist lockpicker friends so happy with a statement like that.
Well, one has to challenge themselves on occasion. Oh yeah, we can feel the pins really easy with this one.
Mm-hmm.
They're really easy to feel with this.
Good. And there are some hook tools that are made even with sharper, more precise points at their tip, specifically for trying to really have that precision feel that you're getting, so you can tell exactly what's going on.
Yeah. That might be over. Let's see.
Maybe
we can try with that again. Let's see, that might be easier now that I've, doing downwards. Let's see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that half diamond goes in more easily, but it doesn't have the real depth of reach. So sometimes hard to get pins into the right spots.
Yeah. Hey, that one worked for me.
Oh my God. That is a genuine door right there. You have just opened some, like a deadbolt on the front of a building.
Yeah, that one worked for me.
I figured, so cool. That is so cool. How does that feel?
That's awesome. The hook teaches me to feel to feel them, and the diamond. Once I get the feel with the hook, the diamond, it's easier to move.
I am. Oh my gosh!
The hook gives you being someone who's blind, the hook gives you a better feel for the number of pins and all that. Mm-hmm. But the diamond is easier to actually hit them. This
is making my day. Thank you for sticking with it there too. I knew you'd get to it. I knew you'd get it. I mean, you're gonna get so many locks. You got a whole world opening up here for you, man. Like this is. I'm blown away. I'm blown away at how well this worked. You have been so accommodating for me trying to talk my way through it.
Oh yeah.
I have no formal education or training in accessibility tech. The fact that you could set this up like this so I could see what was happening, I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow,
that's awesome.
That's so cool. I can't wait to. I will mail you some more locks little by little. I'll mail you some different tools if you need.
Yeah, let me send you let me mail you my new address that I'll be moving to, because I already know the address. So let me do that.
Do that, and we will continue. I want to keep hearing from you about how it goes.
Yeah. What have we got in this last one?
So yes, there are some extra parts I sent you. What's going on there? You can dump them all out, and I'll talk you through it a little bit.
Some of them feel very small, so I'm not going to dump them all out.
That's true. But anything that's very small is in its own bag as well. So what's going on in that bag is additional parts for additional activities that you might do later. Remember when we were handling those pins, the plastic ones? There are spare ones. So Tony, he sent me additional pins. That's a key that the key operates one of the locks that you were opening. I think it operates the most recent one you did, the real world 5-pin lock. You can even try it.
One of them or all of them?
I think it only operates the 5-pin one. Let's see. Yeah. If things get really crazy in the future and you really get into it, this is not a thing for today.
Yeah, it works on all of them.
Oh, good. I must have thought this. I didn't realize I thought this through so well. Yeah, I guess I had awesome. Let's see.
Yeah, it works on that one.
Oh, sweet. Oh man. Way to go.
This one?
Way to go, previous me.
One more. It works on that one too.
Sweet. All right. I actually planned this better than I realized. In the large bag, there is another small bag still. So that bag, the bag there's two small bags. Those are extra pins for the model you were handling. And not all of them are cylindrical. As you learn.
No, some of them feel funky.
Yeah, some of them have different shapes which interfere. They're made intentionally, like that one is manufactured specifically to interfere with picking. You might imagine that if a lock is turned a little bit, and those lips will start to grab and catch. So that's a spoon pin. There are what are called mushroom pins. They're all different shaped pins. And if you ever want to, what I was teaching you, and you put the model in someone's hands, you can also let them handle and play around with different shapes of pins.
Awesome.
The other bag that you're holding has one more small bag in it. And in addition to those keys, I think it looks like another spare key I included. There's also a tiny baggie of actual real world lock pin parts. And one day,
that is tiny.
If you really get one day, who knows, you or someone else, if you want, can repin and reconfigure the locks I have given you so they can grow and continue to offer new and different challenges. But that's a job for another day.
Yeah.
This is great.
We did swimmingly. That was fantastic.
I am so pleased. I'm just,
yeah, me too.
I'm amazed. This is wonderful. Thank you again so much for getting in touch and wanting to learn this and being willing to try.
Yeah. Thanks for, putting all this stuff together. That is fantastic. And like I said, this could be a good teaching tool. To teach other blind people or other people who have visual impairments how to do this by using the models, because those models are great.
Wonderful. And yeah, if you have the community that starts up, anything we can do, anything we can supply to support that, I think it's a wonderful effort. And it's so
I intend to get into
this is amazing.
I intend to get into 3D printing and stuff too. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Really cool. Well, I don't know if you can hear the little mewing in the background. I've got some cats to attend to here and such, but yeah.
So is there a way to make models to print, or
is there what now?
Is there a way to make those models to print, or is there?
Yeah, so I can find out from others in the community. I know there's a website called Thingiverse where people share 3D printable designs, which has a number of lock related items. For example, it has things like when we talked about taking a lock apart, There are trays that people use so that the parts don't go flying everywhere and they don't roll away.
Yeah.
So there are 3D
trays
printed
and all
lock
that, yeah.
trays, and there are people make follower tools. People make a tool that presses down on that plunger for removing the tail cap.
Yeah.
All of those are online.
I'm talking about, I'm thinking about, these models here.
I'll find out whether or not those are open source. There's a company called 3D Locksport who makes these and sells them. In fact, I mean, they sell the teaching tool. They sell the stock version of it. And maybe with this being so popular, maybe I can convince them to stock and start printing these progressive learning parts so that even unsighted individuals can try the same thing we just did here.
Yeah, I mean, if you could do that, that'd be awesome. For those way I can get the models so that I can print them.
Yeah, I think
either way.
I think that would be cool. I think they might do that. I'll get in touch with them.
Keep me updated. Let me know what's up.
I will.
Because this is great.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Like, I'm traveling soon, and I'm gonna take this with me and
do it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. Like, I'm traveling to meet a couple of blind friends and all that soon, and I'm gonna take this with me and get them started.
Gosh. That's so cool. Well, please stay in touch, and I'm so happy. Thank you for all this tonight. This is great.
Thank you so much as well. And thanks to the people that helped you with this. With all of this.
Oh, I'm gonna tell them. They're gonna be thrilled too.
Big thanks.
This is great.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right.
Well, I'll be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Stay awesome, and thank you again.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Good night. Bye just for now.
Good night.
How great was that? Are you freaking kidding me, right? Like, by the end of the night, dude was opening real locks. Not just the plastic locks, not just the trainer locks, actual 5-pin lock, like a real door. Completely start to finish learning. You just saw it happen. I just saw it. I can't even believe, I just saw it happen and I can't believe it. The dedication and the passion, if it's there, you can do things you might not think was possible. And I love, I could not be happier with how this turned out. I'm blown away. So yeah, and if you want to be happy, if you let's give shit away. I'm in a super generous mood, right? Prize Pelican coming out. There's some, okay. I'm gonna start pulling out some strange things, right? Let's pull out a little power brick wall wart. Let's pull out a really old serial cable. How about, some silver satin RJ11, Cat 3 cord, telephone cord, kids. You know why? I'm finally giving this away. A blast from the telephone past. If you want a modem, yes, a modulator, demodulator, 56K, baby, get that bonus speed. I wonder if it does V90. I wonder if it does K-Flex. Oh, it does. Holy shit. Awesome. Banging. Yes, totally. V92, you name it. One of you is winning a modem because I've had this and I've used it way longer in history than you might think is feasible. This serial cable is not serial on the other end, it's USB. So you're gonna hook this up. I want someone, if I can even find some of my old war dialing software, I want someone to try to do some war dialing with this or to do something fun, some old BBSing, you name it. But that's why I had it. I just haven't used it in a little bit. So it's going to someone. And you know what? I see another telephonic gift. So let's go with this. This is called a credit card phone, right? This is an actual working phone, just like the little butt phone was. It takes a SIM card and everything. It has its charger here. I don't know what networks it will connect to. I think it's mostly Asian networks. It was probably 2G. I don't even know if it did 3G. So if you got the vaccine and you're all 5G'd up, I don't know if this phone is compatible with you, but someone's getting that as well. And as we keep on going, yeah, I'm just going to keep making videos. I'm going to keep giving stuff away, and I'm going to keep trying to connect people online to one another because I cannot be happier right now with how all this is going. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reaching out with comments and suggestions and new ideas and new people and new faces in new spaces. We're starting to open up. We're starting to just get past the COVID thing. I know if you're not jabbed yet, get out and get your freaking jab so we can finally meet each other in person again. I miss all of you. I will see you at cons. I will see you at the shoot next year, later another time, maybe down at Carl's events. I'm not shooting this summer probably, but we'll see. I just can't stop talking. I'm super jazzed. You think I'm all coked out over here, except clearly I'm way too heavy to be a cokehead. Yeah, man. I need a refill in a minute, and I need to ship these to winners. I need to just calm down. I can't stop smiling. Thank you so much. Stay safe out there.